was at least like the OG pandemic one.
Hello, everybody. We're going to be starting this hybrid open house in about 4 minutes. If you're joining us online, just hang tight and we'll be getting underway shortly. Thank you very much. We're just going to give everybody a couple more minutes to join in. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. Thank you. Thank you all for joining. We're going to get underway with this hybrid meeting. So welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this online open house for 991 John F. Scott Road. My name is Autumn Hume. I'm from the city's Communications and Public Engagement Department. I'll be moderating this hybrid open house evening. A couple of housekeeping items to cover off first. As mentioned, this is a hybrid event, so we have some folks joining us online as well as some here in person at Kingston East Community Center. The session is being live streamed to YouTube and recorded. To protect your privacy, all participants have their video turned off and have been muted, and the chat functionality in Zoom is turned off. Perfect. Sometimes technology troubles happen. We have a list of common tech challenges on Get Involved Kingston at getinvolved.cityofkingston.ca, including tips to help you if your audio or video isn't working. You can also adjust your view options so you can see both the presentation and the members of the project team at the same time. If your internet connection goes down, you can call into the meeting at the number on the screen. Please write it down just in case. You'll also need the webinar number. You can also follow along live on YouTube. Typically, if you have tech problems, the best option is to leave the meeting and rejoin via the link that you joined the meeting at. And again, you can also leave and follow on YouTube, and then the information will be there. Excellent. If you have a question at any point in time during the session, please use Zoom's Q&A feature. If you're in the room, you can raise your hand. There will be an additional, the Q&A feature can be found on the bar on the bottom of the screen. To ask a question, just type it into the question area. During the Q&A portion at the end, we will work through the questions and comments as they have been received. Members of the project team will work to respond to the questions and will alternate between questions received online and questions received in person. If a question comes to you after the event, you can reach out to the planning department via email. We'll put that info in the chat, but the email is planning@cityofkingston.ca. And for asking questions in person, please just raise your hand. As I mentioned, we'll alternate, so we'll switch between online and in-person questions. Finally, now that our housekeeping items are covered, I'd like to officially open today's engagement session with a land acknowledgement. So the city is committed to working with Indigenous peoples and all residents to pursue a united path of reconciliation. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homeland of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat, and we thank these nations for their care and stewardship over the shared land. On your screen now, you should see our guidelines for participation. If you've joined us before for an engagement session, they may look familiar to you. These guidelines for participation were developed as part of the city's engagement framework and to make sure that we can all join together, be respectful and open to new ideas. I'm going to leave these up for about 30 seconds. So you have an opportunity to read them. I'm going to pass the mic over for the presentation.
Perfect, thank you, Autumn. My name is Jay Lewis. I work for a company called Forbes Brothers on behalf of Freedom Mobile, and we are here for the information session for a proposed 70-meter self-support tower at 991 John F. Scotch Road. Next slide. So who is Freedom Mobile? Freedom Mobile has emerged as Canada's fourth national carrier, and one of the key objectives of the federal government was to create more competition in the wireless market. Freedom recently celebrated having the 2 millionth customers in its wireless network. They provide cellular and mobile broadband services to Canadians. Who are we? Forbes Brothers or FB Connect. We're a nationwide infrastructure construction company, mainly Powerline Telecommunications, and we act as agents on behalf of Freedom Mobile to do the site acquisition as well as the permitting process for the sites. So what we got to look at first are the wireless trends. So nearly 80% of emergency calls are completed through a cellular device or a wireless device. So it's very important that we have a robust wireless network to ensure calls to emergency services can be completed, as well as no drop calls. The adoption of wireless technologies has also been very great, and the technology has increased the amount of demand. For example, there are now 34 million wireless subscribers in Canada, and the amount of data keeps on increasing. So what we need to do is to make sure that there's enough sites and capacity to handle the increased demand of users. Community members, businesses, visitors, consumers use wireless data to unprecedented levels, and mobile data traffic accounts for half of the web traffic online. So that's a very interesting fact that half of the data that's done online is through wireless devices. So we need to take a look at how a wireless network works. So if you take a look at the top left image there, you'll see base stations. Base stations are where we transmit and receive the signal so that everyone can have continuous coverage moving between the different areas. So the top left picture, you can see 3 base stations, and as you were to move between the areas, you have continuous service. What happens when there's a large number of users is that the coverage area tends to shrink, and then we need to put in additional capacity in our additional site to provide that coverage. So that's the middle image there. You can see that the area shrinks. Then the third one is where we have added the new base stations or sites to get the continuous coverage back. Next slide is where we are looking at this site. So the site is located at 991 John F. Scott Road, located in an industrial property on the south side of Highway 15 there. So we'll go into those details a little bit more, but that's the location that we're looking at, having the tower provide coverage to the area. And if we do a site sharing investigation, so review to see if there's any towers within 1 kilometer of the proposed tower, there are no towers within that area. Next. So the site design, what we are proposing a 70-meter self-support tower. It is a galvanized steel structure. It's wider at the bottom, tapers towards the top. At the top of the tower are the antennas that transmit and receive the cellular services in the area. And then there will be a microwave dish that is used as a backhaul to connect this to other Freedom sites. This tower, or at the base of the tower, there'll be an equipment shelter where it houses the electronics and a battery backup unit in case the power goes down. The tower and the equipment shelter are located within a 15-meter by 15-meter fenced off area. The fenced off area ensures that public access is restricted. And if you take a look at the picture there, we're located on the far west side of the industrial concrete building, where access would be over top of the gravel parking area and situated on the grass area there. And the orange box is where hydro would be obtained from a hydro line there. Next slide. So the photo simulation. This is a before picture looking east from Highway 21. And then on the next slide, you can see that the 70-meter self-support tower has been superimposed onto it. And then the next slide is another view from Highway 15, looking east again. The first image does not have the tower, and the second image has the tower superimposed onto it. So the regulation process that we follow of where we are and how we got here is that radio communications falls under the exclusive jurisdiction of federal government. However, the municipality does have influence. The federal government of Canada sets the law, which is the Radio Communication Act, and then the agency that oversees it is Innovation, Science, and Economic Development Canada. And they have established a consultation process to follow, and they have general guidelines that need to be followed, such as submitting an application to Transport Canada, as well as NAV Canada, to ensure aeronautical safety, as well as the health guidelines of Safe Code 6, which was created under Health Canada. The Land Use Authority, or the municipalities component to this, is that they are the best positioned to provide local input regarding land use concerns. And they're to work with the proponent to facilitate proposed review and public consultation of a proposed site. They are also the recommending authority to the proponent and ISP. So I touched base real quickly there about Health Canada Safety Code 6. Health Canada is the agency in charge of the protection of Canadians, and they have created something called Safety Code 6, which is the safety exposures of wireless frequencies at home or at work. So this is a guideline or a regulations that are comparable internationally underneath the World Health Organization, the United States, European Union, Australia, and it is consistent in many jurisdictions and is what Health Canada Safe Code 6 is based on. This is a standard that all carriers have to comply with. And if there's any change in Safety Code 6, the antennas have to be, or the electromagnetic frequencies that are emitted from the antennas need to be in compliance with it. So where are we today? So the consultation process that we have followed so far is an application was submitted to the city of Kingston and Cranes. All affected property owners were notified by the city of Kingston. So because this is a 70-meter tower, all properties within 3 times the height of the tower were notified, which is 210-meter radius. A newspaper notice was published in the Kingston WIG standard. And information session is what we are doing here to receive any comments, provide any information that is requested. There is a due date of November 3rd, so a month from now, if there's any additional questions or comments that would like to be submitted. So the information section that we're having here right now is an opportunity for ourselves, Freedom Mobile, to present the proposal. An opportunity for residents to provide comments, and these responses will be provided. Responses will be provided to the questions asked tonight or received by November 3rd. And then the next step is, once all the comments are addressed, is that a report would be put together and provided to the city of Kingston for consideration. So the next slide is, if there's any questions, I can answer them tonight, or if there's additional questions after this information session, they can be submitted to Sarah Duncan, and her contact information is there, as well as in the mail notification or the notice that was submitted. I will pass this back to Autumn, and thank you for your time. Look forward to if there's any questions.
Thank you. I don't think we have any questions online yet. No, okay. Any from the room? Sure, here you go.
How about me?
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I'm happy to be here. Thanks, guys, for putting this on, and hopefully people are online as well. Thanks for the presentation. I don't have a lot either, but things that came to my mind. So bear with me for a second here. Will this tower assist in the overall mobile phone communication? Right now, we get a lot of drop-offs. My business, for example, must have 20 phones. There's no area here in Kingston right now that is safe. And is that something that this will support as well? I'm just curious how that works.
So that's a good question. So this tower is Freedom Mobile.
Yeah.
So the direct benefit is to Freedom Mobile customers in the area. There's a couple two indirect ways that could help, is that this would provide a vertical opportunity for others. So if Bell came along and wanted to put antennas on it, we are mandated to share towers. So there's an opportunity if Bell needed additional coverage in the area, this would provide the vertical real estate to allow that. And then another indirect way is that it could free up capacity. So Freedom Mobile, they provide their service through their own sites. However, if their sites are not available, it goes on other people's networks. So by this site offloading any Freedom Mobile users in that area from anyone else's sites, it will open up capacity on those sites. So overall, this site may not directly benefit all the other cell phone users, but there are indirect ways that it benefits, and overall it adds additional capacity in the area. So thanks for that question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for that. And it's probably obvious, you can start, but obviously the via train tracks, they're outside of that, and they're going to give you approvals as well for proximity. Train tracks.
Question about whether be able.
Well, it's 70 meters. Are you 70 meters from the track?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I think we have consulted and we
Okay.
did move back,
Okay.
you know, and that is why it is not directly beside the train tracks for the towers.
I think so, yeah, sorry. Thank you. I can ask all my questions.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, we'll keep it that way, whatever. Is this 5G? Is this a 5G tower, or are we actually at the 5G level yet? I know when you look at your phone, everybody says it might say 5G, but how about that technology? Is that something we're merging with now? And how far are we from it, or what's the latest?
Unfortunately, I don't have specific answers to that. This proposed tower will have 4G and LTE on it. And my understanding is that it's prepared that when Freedom wants to go into 5G, it would be able to provide that. If not, there's, because it's 70-meter tower, a lot of room for Freedom to add other antennas to provide 5G. So I don't have any deadlines of when it would be provided by it, but they're just antennas that go on the towers.
Thanks. Yeah, that's very interesting topic, because that's what I get from the consumers. I know as far as Health Canada goes, it's helpful. I will look up the safety code 6 a little bit to just try to understand that. Is that that is something online where we as my constituents can look it up and see what those standards are, I guess. Safety code 6, and that is available for public access, right? Publicly accessible.
Yes, in a weird way. So safety code 6, it's a little bit complicated with the engineering. I personally don't understand the whole standard of it, that you can download and readily read the availability of it. What cell phone providers here, what Freedom Mobile has, is they have computer programs where you would enter in the height of the tower, the antenna, and the computer does the computations to ensure that's below it. And a lot of these sites are. So, you know, Health Canada has said we have a maximum safety level of this. That's already taken into a big safety code. And then a lot of times we're well below that. So with safety code 6, there's no issue for 5G right now. You know, right now we're using the same frequencies that we have, 700, 2600. 3500, so it's all kind of the same frequencies right there. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks. That's all the questions I have, and it will help me to be able to answer questions. It's really great that we have the November 3rd deadline as well, and so for all my constituents that are listening and wanting to, there's an opportunity to continue the dialogue. But I just want to thank you again for being here and taking the time, and all of you guys as well. It is appreciated.
Thank you both. Do we have any questions on that? Great. Just give it another minute or two, just to see if anything populates.
Building. So proud of it. Yes.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions online or in the room. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening for this open house. Thank you for taking time out of your Wednesday evening to join us for this. And if you have any further questions after this event is over, but before the November 3rd deadline, you can email forbesbrosltd.ca. That's FORBESBROS LTD.ca. Thank you very much. Bye.